Welcome to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm your host and photographer based in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. This is episode 21. It's our 21st, guys. I can't quite believe it. And this is going to be the very last episode for 2023. But we will be back in the new year with so much good content. I already have some exciting stories lined up. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who has listened, followed us on Instagram, and supported the podcast so far. We only started in August and it has had so much momentum and great response so far. So I can't wait to continue that for you. And a huge thank you to all of our guests as well for being so open, vulnerable, sharing your stories, the ups and downs that come with wedding planning, and vendors and all the amazing advice we've heard as well. It is so valuable and I'm loving the feedback that everyone is loving it as well. We will be taking a 2-week break for Christmas and New Year's and back with a new episode on January the 9th. I'm really committed to being consistent with this podcast, so it is hard for me to even stop it. I already have a few episodes backed up, recorded that I'm itching to share, but yeah, we need to have a little holiday, guys. It is wedding season. I'm busy photographing some beautiful weddings and away for one special one in the South Island in January. But the podcast will continue back on January 9th and showing up weekly as always. I'll pop on Instagram a little bit over the break, so feel free to send me a message. I'll share a few clips and I really encourage you to go back and catch up on all the episodes if you haven't already. There's so many good ones and different types of weddings to hear about, so I really recommend that. Feel free to slide into the DMs at the Kiwi Wedding Podcast on Instagram with any questions, people that you want to hear from, whether that's couples or vendors, or nominate yourself or your friend to come on the podcast. There's no shame in it. We want to share all different types of stories. Please get in touch. I love to chat and I'm always active over on Instagram. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's with your friends and family. If you are getting engaged, guys, this is engagement season, so I know that a lot of you are going to be coming back next year with a ring on your finger. Good luck. Congratulations in advance. And I can't wait to share more with you in 2024 and go along this journey with you. Today we have a vendor episode to wrap things up. I chatted with the lovely Brogan Scott. She is first and foremost an artist and designer. She's a super talented creative working in the wedding space, designing stationery, signage, websites, all those things that are kind of the look and feel for your day. We chat through how she got started, what services she offers for weddings, and also about her amazing workshops that she runs. Stationery and design can often be overlooked in weddings, but I feel like it is a really important part of it and sets the tone for your day even before it happens. So I know you guys are going to love this one. We chat through some trends that we are seeing in the upcoming season. You might get a few ideas from this, so listen right to the end and make sure you go and check out Brogan's work. Her website is broganscottstudio.com, or she's Brogan Scott Studio on Instagram as well. Again, thank you for listening. Merry Christmas and enjoy episode 21 with Brogan. Hi, Brogan. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Hello, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
So excited to chat. You are a wedding vendor and very talented, creative person who makes stationery. So to start off with, if you could just tell me a bit about you, where you grew up, your background, how you got started into your career in business to, where you are today.
Yeah, so I am born and bred in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. So I've kind of been here my whole life. I did have a wee little stint over in London, as I feel all kind of Kiwis tend to do after uni. But yeah, I studied art at art school. I went to Elam, which I really enjoyed and was super fun. And then from there, I did obviously went to lived in the UK, but I was never wasn't sure if I was going to kind of do art as a career. I didn't kind of like the idea of being a full-time artist. I always found it seemed quite lonely or kind of a bit different, kind of working for a gallery in some sort. So from going to the UK, kind of did nannying, very much just had fun, and then ended up coming back to New Zealand after 2 years. and then worked full time working for a company called Paint Vine. So we did kind of paint classes across Aotearoa, and then I was a general manager for there for 4 years. But then kind of decided I kind of needed to move on, try something new, and decided to kind of take that leap into working for myself full time. My amazing friend Michelle, who works for Noel Design. She actually was kind of looking for a watercolor artist to help out with her stationery. She does the most amazing hand drawn calligraphy. So I was doing some work with her, and then I was kind of like, oh, this could be kind of a cool avenue to explore. I wasn't quite sure like what to get into. I'm like not a trained designer. I'm definitely more a fine art kind of artist. But yeah, so I took kind of that leap and went to work part time. And then from there, I was really enjoying it. I got lots of work slowly. It kind of grew very organically, which I was very lucky about. And then last year in July, I kind of took the leap and decided to kind of do it full time. And here I am now. So very lucky, really. Lots of hard work, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I also had a stint nannying in London, such a rite of
Yeah,
passage for Kiwis.
it
It's so
really
good.
is.
And then, yeah, awesome that you've taken the leap to do your own business and you're thriving. I see your work pop up everywhere and it's so beautiful. So, did you kind of straight away get into like weddings and doing like invitations and signage, wedding stationery, and what kind of services do you offer for weddings?
Yeah, so it kind of, like I said, it grew quite organically. And me and Michelle, we did a wedding for a friend's sister. Her name's Alex Stone, and she's Alex's Kitchen Stories. She's kind of a big food influencer. She also lives in the UK. So we did her wedding stationery, and from them, it kind of really popped off, which we were very lucky about. So that was definitely a huge help to kind of get my name out there, especially people in different countries as well, which I've been really fortunate working with brides all across the world. But I guess, yeah, the services I could do is bespoke and custom wedding stationery and signage. So there's kind of how I kind of break it in is like pre-wedding stationery, on the day wedding stationery, and then post-wedding stationery. So pre-wedding stationery is like the save the date, invitation suites, wedding websites, and then on the day stationery is your welcome signs, menus, place cards, even like people are now doing like matchboxes, napkins, like all very custom signage. And then that post wedding stationery is obviously those little thank you cards to kind of send thanks to all your guests afterwards.
So cool. I love that. Yeah, just right through the journey, all the touch points that you can provide. And yeah, we were just chatting before pushing record that you've just been on an amazing trip in Europe and just like living and working there for a while. So it's so cool that you can just service people worldwide now and work designing, yeah, online and designing for weddings that way. So super cool. Can you talk a bit about the whole process with wedding stationery and, yeah, kind of the timeline of how much in advance people need to book and, yeah, what that whole process looks like leading up to their wedding?
Yeah, so I guess obviously the earlier the better. I feel like once you've kind of locked in that venue, that's kind of when you want to get your save the dates out or get your invitations out. I even recommend just like the moment you get engaged to kind of start contacting a wedding stationery designer. I feel like the amount of emails I get and they're like kind of like, oh, I'd love you to design my stationery. I'm like, oh, when do you want it out? They're like, oh, the next couple weeks. I'm just like that. Unfortunately, is just such a hard deadline to work towards. So I definitely feel like the first kind of person you should really be reaching out to is obviously like a wedding planner and if you're going down that route in a venue, but definitely a wedding stationery designer because the stationery is essentially the first thing your guests are going to see, and it really does lock in the tone of your wedding day. So it depends on kind of what you want guests to kind of expect and kind of how you want them to kind of imagine what your wedding day is going to look like, and that's really going to be played out in the design of your wedding stationery. So if you're thinking for like a really fun, colorful kind of wedding, or something that's maybe a little bit laid back, or we can really tailor that kind of styling with the handwritten wording, and then obviously the illustration. So my kind of illustration work kind of goes around mostly watercolor. I'd say that's my most popular, But then I've also kind of got the really beautiful, like modern black calligraphy, hand sketchy designs, very like not very perfect. I'd say my watercolor kind of style is very like perfectly imperfect. It's not kind of very polished. It's very much hand done. It's very I guess a lot of people kind of say whimsical or ethereal. It's kind of just very playful, and I guess that's kind of my style in my work is that I don't really overthink the process. It's very natural. It's very organic, and I guess that kind of shines through. Yeah, I definitely recommend locking in pre-wedding stationery, on the day stationery at the same time. Obviously, it's very hard to kind of envision what your on the day stationery will look like because that styling and planning kind of goes closer to the time of the day. But I find it a lot easier to kind of lock everything in at once. And if you do lock in your pre-wedding stationery and your on the day stationery at the same time, I offer my clients now a 10% discount on those on the day items, because that just means there's not so much back and forth, and it kind of just saves our time. Because I feel like I'm sure brides know the email threads can be long.
Totally. Oh, so cool. And so how does that process work when someone comes to you? Do you ask them to send you like a mood board, or do they usually they've seen your work and they love it and they're like, we want something like this? Obviously finding out what their venue is will kind of inform the style of it a bit, I can imagine. But yeah, what does that sort of creative side look like?
Yeah, it's definitely like the location of the venue is always such like a massive influence, especially when people are kind of dealing with destination weddings. I feel like they take the styling a lot on where that wedding is taking place. I always kind of request to get some like mood boards or even just screenshots of Instagram of kind of how they envision their wedding stationery to look like on the day. And this kind of just helps me with kind of concepts I've got in the back of my head, or just really kind of like styling ideas, which is really helpful. But obviously, all kind of everyone's got like a different idea, and it's quite hard to kind of nail down like pricing. Or I remember when I first kind of started, I was doing a big kind of pricing and packages PDF, and then I just kind of giving in the prices, and then they'd kind of take those prices and maybe take them somewhere else. So then now it's very much like a bespoke package. And we have lots of conversations. I always have a free Zoom consultation with all the brides, and to kind of like go over all the on the day items and pre-wedding items as well. But yeah, with the whole process, obviously there is a bit of back and forth. I guess with the creative process, it's not so much I'm not going to design everything and then kind of give it to them and then that's it. My kind of process is very organic. I kind of there's no limit of edits or no changes really. The only thing is if there's like a full redesign after we've approved a sketch. But yeah, but to avoid that, I always give clients little digital sketches of kind of what I'm envisioning, so then we can edit those before I go in with the watercolor.
Yeah, that's so cool. So it's a little bit of a collaborative back and forth process. So you're on the same page, but um, yeah, just capturing their whole mood and style for the wedding. That's so good. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's a very bespoke service. And I imagine every client is a little bit different with what they require and how much work goes into it. So yeah, super hard to give like a just one-off price for it. And yeah, I know with photography sometimes just pricing stuff is so annoying that part of the process. Is there like a sort of budget you would recommend for people to set aside for their stationery? I don't know if you can talk about like a ballpark figure or give an example of yeah how much on like an average spend would be for that part of their wedding.
Yeah, I guess with the price, I guess it is like you said, really based on the per person, dependent on the style that they're after. Like for example, watercolor is going to take a lot longer than like a digital kind of sketch illustration. But I guess with budget, it depends on kind of what items you're after. I price all mine a la carte, so it's not like an overall price; it's all just price per item. So, for example, for a single-sided invite with an illustration and digital handwritten wording, that's around 500 New Zealand dollars. And then on the day stationery, I recommend kind of budgeting around 2,000 New Zealand dollars. But these prices are exclusive of printing. Because I'm an artist and designer at Foremost, I outsource all my printing. So I use really amazing printers located all across New Zealand, Australia, and the UK and the US. I've got kind of, I guess, partner printers across the world. So all my pricing is exclusive. And then I don't add on top of that printing price. All I do is add a management fee. So then it's all kind of very clear cut for the bride to kind of see where the pricing goes. And then also another kind of, I guess, pricing point is obviously the different types of printing styles that you can do. You've got like letterpress, embossing, digital. People are now very much into like doing die cut custom shapes, which is really fun. So yeah, with pricing, it's really hard to kind of finalize like one price. It's just so many different components that affect it.
Yeah, that gives people a good idea, though. Yeah, it's definitely something I think more people should invest in, and yeah, actually using someone that is a artist, not just getting like a template offline, because it really does make a difference to the whole vibe of the day, and it's in your photos, and it's like a cool keepsake that you can keep afterwards from your wedding. I think if people just encourage them to get in touch with you, or yeah, think about using a designer and not leave it as an afterthought up to like a couple of weeks before the wedding, get in touch in advance and like we said, get onto it as quick as you can. Are there any like misconceptions people have about getting custom design for their wedding?
I guess like one would be that it might not be important. I feel like stationery is, I guess, definitely like an up and coming kind of item that's in the on the day kind of styling and everything. But as I mentioned earlier, the wedding stationery sets the tone and feel of your wedding day before it even happens. So guess get your save the date out kind of around a year before the wedding takes place, and then perhaps it invites around 6 months before it takes place. So it's definitely a lead up, and it definitely kind of tells people how the day is going to like pan out. So if you're kind of wanting people to really dress up and you want it to kind of know people to like show them that it's going to be quite a formal and like big kind of day, then you want to kind of set that tone in the wedding stationery design. And that kind of just shows you that there's that wow factor. And so the guests know it's a big deal and they're really going to dress up. Because I know like there's a lot of times at weddings, it's you put black tie, you put formal, and there's still people wearing the short sleeve shirts and like short dresses. But so I feel like the stationery definitely helps with that kind of communication. And definitely, it doesn't even have to be down to stationery. I've been working on lots of wedding websites now, which has been really fun. And I think wedding websites now, with everyone kind of living in different cities and different countries all the time, they're just such an easy way to get information to people. And there's wedding websites, you can get all your RSVP information straight to a Google sheet, which is really, really helpful. So it's all sent straight to your inbox and then that sheet straight away. So there's no kind of little cards having to get sent or people sending you text messages or emails and kind of keeping track of everything. And the good thing with those wedding websites is that you can also add information to it as it gets confirmed. So a lot of people, when they send out the invites, they have to have everything finalized and all like the transport and all that details updated. But then, yeah, with those wedding websites, you can kind of slowly update it as you go, and you've got everyone's email addresses. So you can send them like a quick ping, being like, check our wedding website for like update and transport and all that kind of stuff. And it's quite a fun way to like add the illustrations on there as well.
So good. Definitely both go hand in hand just for those last minute updates, and then yeah, having the like beautiful stationery pre and on the day.
The good thing with the stationery is it also makes like really beautiful keepsakes. Like the amount of times I go to like friends' houses, and then I kind of see menus with their names on it, or I've seen like heaps of my menus kind of, or my invites that my friends have received that I've designed for other people's weddings, which is really cool. So it's a really nice keepsake for your guests, especially if you're kind of doing like say a menu with guest names at the top, or like a really beautiful die cut flower with a guest name there. It's something that they can take home and like treasure, which is really beautiful. And I've been lucky enough to do really beautiful venue illustrations of lots of beautiful wedding venues, and then people have been doing those on the menus itself, so it's kind of like a nice little artwork to kind of take home.
Such a cool idea. And I feel like it's not really as much of a thing to do like wedding favors anymore. I haven't seen that in a while, like a little gift on the table at the reception, if you don't know what that is. But I feel like having, yeah, the menu or the invite is like a cool, I mean, it's like a custom piece of art for them. And yeah, I'm a super sentimental person, so I definitely keep stuff like that, especially when it's really beautifully designed. Amazing. Is there any favorite projects that you have worked on that, yeah, you just look back on and love, or yeah, any like dream ones that you want to create?
I guess the one that I kind of look back on with like the biggest like heart eyes would be a wedding that I did in the Cotswolds. So that was a wedding in the Cotswolds last year in September. And that was sort of like my first wedding that I'd taken from wedding website. We did an amazing, beautiful, big wedding website because the bride, she's from Canada and her husband's from New Zealand, but they were getting married in the UK. So that's where they live. So obviously they had people coming from all over the world. So they thought a wedding website would be great. So I'd never done a wedding website in my life. And she was like, "Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yep, sweet. Like I've built my own websites before. Like I'm sure I'll be fine." And then from there, I did the on the day stationery as well. So that was kind of the first wedding I saw from like beginning to end. And in such a beautiful setting as well, like the Cotswolds. Like that place is incredible. And I was actually lucky enough to be in the UK when that wedding took place. So I actually went up and like helped with setup and like saw everything get put together, which was really cool. So I think that will probably be my favorite one I've worked for, which is quite weird. It's like my first one and still my favorite. But I just think it's like such a like nice experience to kind of like be very present and kind of be like, oh wow, like this is the first one. And I feel like when you're kind of starting a business, brides really have to kind of like take a gamble on you, I guess. And yeah, me and the bride, we got along very well and we like catch up whenever she's in New Zealand. So it's very nice to kind of like keep continuing like those relationships that I do create with the brides because it is so full on. Like all my email threads that I have with them is like 100+ messages, like 200 almost. Like it's just you're constantly talking to these people, I guess like every single week for like a year, and then like the wedding happens and then it's just like cold turkey.
Such a cool thing that you get to build that relationship with them, and then yeah, when you get to be there on the day and see all those elements come to life from yeah the website and then to the on the day stationery.
Definitely. And yeah, I guess a current job I'm working on at the moment is for a couple. They're based in the US and they're getting married in Lake Como, which has always been like a dream. I guess when you're an artist and you're an illustrator, just like anything beautiful is just like such a treat to, I guess, work with. And then especially Italy, I just spent the last 2.5 months living there. So I've been very influenced by the architecture and the art. So that's been so much fun working for the wedding that they're doing. And I guess when I was talking to the bride and groom, I was kind of asking them, is there anything symbolic or is there anything that you particularly want illustrated in any of the stationery items? Because everything I do is fully bespoke. So it's a really great way to kind of bring your personality as a couple through to the stationery, which is really fun. And one of her requests was she really wanted fish, and because she obviously like Como, there's fish everywhere, so she's like, I really want fish kind of illustrated. And then when they were kind of telling me about their love stories, so whenever I catch up with my clients, I always catch up and I always go, can you tell me a bit about your love story, like how you first met, what you like doing? Because when they do tell me that, I can kind of pull out parts. And when they were telling me how they met at band camp, and they both played the oboe. So then we were kind of talking about the design. I was like, oh, like let's do some fish playing the oboe. Like that'll be really fun. So for their welcome drinks card on their invitation suite, we've got a male fish and he's like in like a little tux and he's got the oboe in his hand playing that. And then the female fish, she's in a little bride outfit and then she's got like a coupe champagne glass holding up. So that's kind of really playful, kind of fun stuff. Like the rest of their stationery, their formal invites, very formal, but then kind of having these really playful, funny moments, just to kind of show the personality of the couple, but also kind of tying in the location as well. So I'm very, very excited to kind of share that design.
Well, that sounds amazing and so special to have something so like personalized and that represents them as a couple. That yeah, even if it doesn't make sense to other people, it's like their love
Exactly.
story and such a cool thing for them to keep as well. I love that.
Yeah. I think it's like a little Easter egg. Like it doesn't need to make sense to like all your guests. It's the stationery is also for you. Like there's such beautiful keepsakes. Like I guess post when the wedding happens and everything, the things that you kind of have to remember is obviously the photos and the videos, and now like dried flowers people are doing, but and obviously the cake. Sometimes people freeze cake. I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
um, but also the stationery, like you're going to have that forever. I always recommend kind of printing extra, so you've kind of got that, and so it is always going to be there. It's like kind of the one item post wedding that you can really keep, which is nice.
Yeah, so cool, and such a cool thing they can keep and show like your kids and your grandchildren. Like, yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
Is there like a favorite stationery item or must have wedding stationery that, yeah, you would, if you had to pick one thing, what would it be?
Oh, I could probably like, that's such a hard, it's like picking your babies or like your favorite child. I guess like one item that I feel like is very often overlooked is the welcome sign. I feel like I'm always quite surprised when a lot of people don't or like book in the welcome sign, or they're like, oh no, we don't need that, because I feel like this is going to be the first thing that guests see. That's kind of first signage and also a first styling item that they see when they enter the grounds. And it's also going to be most likely, if they have it, your most photographed item, because when everyone arrives, they're going to be like, oh my God, the names, and they're going to take a photo of it. And it might be on like on a really beautiful easel, or it could be like hanging from a tree. There's like now lots of people are printing welcome signs and everything on linen, which is really beautiful. So I feel like that's a very much overlooked item for the on the day stationery. And it also, yeah, I would say that would be the one that kind of is a must have, but yeah, definitely overlooked. But then the other must have kind of thing I would say would be the dinner menu. I just think it really kind of, for a styling point, it really elevates the tablescape. And then if you're having like a sit down reception, people are going to be sitting down for most of the time. So I feel like that's like a really beautiful item to have as well.
Such like statement pieces, and absolutely they're going to be photographed a lot on the day by, yeah, your photographer and or your guests. So cool to put
Yeah.
some thought into them. As well as doing all your design work, you also run some workshops, so can you tell us a bit about them and, yeah, what people can expect from those?
Yeah, so my workshops, I'm currently running two workshops now. I've been running the oil pastel workshops for the past, I want to say, year and a half, and then I've got my first watercolor workshop next week, which is very exciting. It's already sold out, but I've got new dates online. But obviously, when this podcast is out, it's probably already been done. But yeah, so the workshops are very, very relaxed. They're kind of like a very fun approach to a new medium with the oil pastels. I've been kind of exploring oil pastels for a year or two now, and I just love how accessible they are. They're a really approachable medium. Obviously, all the colors are already mixed. They're really, really beautiful quality. The oil pastels I actually use, you can't buy in New Zealand, so I have to buy them online, which I absolutely adore. I've done many, many hours kind of exploring all the different pastel options, and these are truly best of the best. When you come to my workshop, they're very dreamy, they're very creamy, and it's like I said, it's a really fun, relaxed approach. When people start, it's kind of, we just do some drawing exercises to familiarize yourself with the medium, and then we work towards kind of completing two finished artwork. So the workshops themselves lend really well to hens parties, just because they're not a super skill based workshop. Like, I'm definitely there to guide people and kind of help with color theory, composition, but we're not going to be going like step by step. So it kind of allows people to still have conversations, still have fun. I can also make them for hens parties a little bit naughty. We can always do some like maybe like prerogative still life kind of displayments with fruit. I've been doing some kind of phallic I guess still life kind of arrangements with bananas and oranges, if that's what people are into. But they are really, really fun.
So cool. I want to come to one. They sound like so much fun. And yeah, such a great idea for hens parties, or if, yeah, you're making a whole day or weekend out of it, just factoring that in is so cool. So can people like book you just for like a private workshop come and do it at their house, or yeah, is that kind of an option?
Yeah, so I've always got the public ones where you can purchase tickets through my website, but then I've got the private ones. So those are for like hens do's, work events. I do lots of kind of team work events, which is really fun. And they're all kind of bespoke to the booking. So I can either come on site and host the event on site at the house or at the work office, or I've got an array of kind of partner venues that I work with in the Auckland Central area. I can also travel as well. I've done some down in Hamilton, and I've done some in like Pukekohe, which has been really fun. I did a 75th birthday, which was like the most divine and heartwarming experience of my life. Everyone was so lovely. But they're honestly really fun events. Like you don't need any prior art experience. People who begin, they always at the end of the night, like very surprised at what they've kind of been able to create. I guess when with art, a lot of the time people kind of overthink the process, and then when they're overthinking, that's when they don't feel so confident, and that's when the artwork that they want to make doesn't get created. But I kind of try help like loosen people up. I show them some of my drawing exercises and drawing techniques to kind of get more loose drawings and kind of having less control over the lines that you're making. And then when people kind of discover those new techniques, they're like very, very impressed with themselves, which I absolutely love. Like that's my favorite thing. And especially when I'm kind of getting photos or tagged in photos on Instagram and they've gone home and like bought a frame and now it's like hanging in their house. So that's like the end goal for me, is for them to like get the artwork framed.
So cool. I love that. They sound like so much fun. And yeah, I feel like everyone has a little bit of creativity in them, even if they don't think so. So
Definitely.
perfect
Yeah.
for, yeah, everyone to go along to or book for your pre wedding celebrations. So you've been involved in a lot of weddings, and do you have any advice for couples who are planning their wedding at the moment? It can be around stationery or just in general, anything.
Yeah, I've kind of got three I like jotted down before we caught up, but one would obviously be one that we've already kind of talked about. Like, don't leave stationery to the last minute, especially if you're kind of going down the bespoke custom route. You kind of want to get in touch to discuss design options a couple of months before you even want to get those invites out. That just really allows me or other designers that you're kind of working with to have time to kind of brainstorm and get ideas. Obviously, creativeness doesn't like light up quite quickly sometimes. So it's really nice to kind of have these conversations about styling, like where the wedding is, all that kind of thing, because those elements definitely affect how the stationery will be designed. Like I always ask for the kind of like photos of how they envision their wedding day to look like, coming down to like flowers, styling, like what colors the bridesmaids are going to be wearing. So definitely give enough time to get in touch with your designer. And then another one with stationery related would be the seating chart. I really recommend on the day having your seating chart viewable at cocktail hour. This kind of just allows guests to kind of go up whenever they're kind of wanting to have a look to see where they're sitting. I see at a lot of weddings, the seating chart is kind of next to the entrance of the reception. And if that reception area is away from the cocktail area, everyone's just going to end up bottlenecking when they're kind of going in because they have no idea where their name is. They have no idea like the table layout. So yeah, I always recommend kind of having your seating chart on a sign that you can kind of easily move from the cocktail kind of post ceremony drinks, and then move it to the reception area once everyone's kind of moving into that area. And then the third one, honestly, would just have to be food. Like I'm sure people say this all the time, but like you can never have too much food at a wedding. It's very dangerous if everyone's not fed. So like I've heard lots of people kind of talking about like grazing platters and stuff at the drinks. I mean at the cocktail hour, I think that's like such a fab idea. I feel like when people are getting like those little canapes around, the caterers only exit and enter on one side. So like those people who are standing around that area are getting very, very well fed. But then like everyone else in the other areas are not. So I feel like yeah, either grazing table or maybe just telling them to kind of like ditch those people at the entrance and kind of going around more often, I guess.
Great advice. You definitely don't want to be hungry or, yeah, have your guests hungry at your wedding for sure. I love what you said about the seating chart. And then, yeah, I think just like logistically thinking about how you move people through spaces or, yeah, take them on a journey, I guess, on your wedding day into the right spots. But yeah, signage and stationery plays a big part in that. And yeah, sort of like giving them instructions, I guess, or just like, yeah, letting them know what's happening, where they're sitting. So that's really important to think about that aspect for sure. Are you seeing any trends for the upcoming season? Any, yeah, common things that have been popping up, or do you have any predictions of what's to come?
Oh, trends. I would say, yeah, I guess with stationery trends, definitely that kind of more bespoke custom look is definitely popping up more. Lots of color. Definitely, obviously, the bridesmaids. I feel like bridesmaids, like dresses and outfits, are definitely kind of becoming more center stage these days. I feel like there's a lot of thought kind of happening into what the bridesmaids are wearing. Usually it was kind of just like same dress, same color. And now it's very much like whatever the bridesmaids really feel comfortable in. I think that's the most important thing on the day. There's nothing worse than being a bridesmaid and kind of standing up there and feeling so uncomfortable in the dress that you're wearing. But yeah, I think kind of that. And also, I've been seeing lots of kind of when people are getting married, not having the groom's party and the bridal party standing up, like having them sitting down to really take in the moment as well. Because I feel like it's quite hard with the bridesmaids, you're kind of off to the side and you're kind of looking around each other's shoulders. So I think it's quite nice kind of seeing those weddings, how they kind of get allowed to enjoy the ceremony as well. Still walking down and kind of being that support system for them both, but really but being sitting down. And then that also allows the bride to kind of look at them as well, because when you're getting married and if they're behind you, you can't actually see them. So you're only kind of looking at the grooms and your husband. So I think it's nice to kind of have them sitting in front of you so you can kind of have some glances and like have that support there.
Absolutely. I love that one. And yeah, I hope more people do that. I think there's so many like dated traditions, especially around wedding ceremonies. So just like
Yeah.
rethinking it, like, why do we actually do that? They don't have to stand up there, and yeah, that you can actually sit and enjoy it and have eye contact. Like, that's so
Yeah.
much better. I love it.
I think it's so nice having the brides and the grooms and the couple really up at the front like by themselves with the celebrant. I think that's really beautiful and romantic itself.
Yeah, it makes for great photos as well. I mean, you can do whatever you
Definitely.
want, but yeah, it's a cool option.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything, yeah, I guess just like customized stationery is becoming more popular. Hopefully it will continue to, and just people putting a bit more thought into that, getting things personalized. And yeah, is there any other like trends in the stationery side that you're seeing?
Yeah, I'd say trends in the stationery side would definitely be kind of those die cut shapes. I think they're really fun and kind of adds a little bit of playfulness in the invitation suite. So like when everything's obviously rectangle or square, like having like a card that's circle, or like I did one wedding, what was it? They were getting married in Noosa and it was a beautiful beach wedding. And we did place cards, and then the place cards were like little shapes cut out in lobsters and shells and fish. And then we had the guests' names on top of the illustration itself. So that was really fun, kind of just like something that's a little bit different, a little bit more playful, which was really cool.
Yeah, even just those like wavy shapes, or yeah, thinking
Mm,
outside the box what you can do, not just like a rectangle. Getting
yeah,
a bit
like
more custom with it.
yeah, with stationery, like the possibilities are like truly endless. I guess calling it stationery, it's is one thing, but it's also obviously the signage, the art. It's also like little installations and little kind of creative moments. So honestly, I love it kind of when brides they come with me and they've kind of got an idea, but they're not quite sure how to execute it. And then from there, I'm kind of being able to like talk them through the process of being like, oh, we can do this, and maybe like you want to have that kind of flower there, we can like put it here instead, and kind of create, kind of helping the brides have their ideas that they've got in their head and then kind of putting it down physically on paper, I guess.
You're super talented. It's been so lovely to chat to you. Is there anything else you want to say as we wrap up, advice for people, or yeah, just let us know where people can follow and get in touch with you?
Yeah, I guess people to follow me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok as Brogan Scott Studio. And then my website is broganscottstudio.com. But yeah, on my website there's wedding inquiry form that you can fill out, and I can get in touch that way. But yeah, hopefully we've got lots of I've got lots of exciting kind of designs coming up, and lots of exciting weddings that I'm working on. So I'm very excited to kind of share those with everyone. It's very hard. You kind of have to keep it secret for a while, and then it's a big kind of like announcement.
So fun though, and we'll definitely share some of your work so people can get the visual as well because it is really beautiful. But thank you so much for
Thank
coming on the
you.
podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.